Hi there everybody and welcome back to another episode, the final episode of Pillars of Eternity. We are in Sun in Shadow, where we will probably meet Thaos here, because this does look like kind of an arena. And yes, then we will see what his problem is. Let's kick his ass.
Sure.
I'll stay out of sight. Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
Wait. Sounds too loud. It's very loud. There we go.
I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. If you do not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to. But you will answer to me as well. I wouldn't ask this were there any other choice.
What? What you asking, boy?
This is a missionary, same as I was. Taught the wrong things as I was. Oceanus. They have held off many would-be invaders.
You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
Oh, I could have done this in the previous episode. I thought there's going to be fighting when I saw all these. Well done. It'll be like a 10-minute episode, unless the battle is fierce. Come at me, bitch boy. Look onto a circular room, grand and domed with its walls lined with ardra and trimmed with copper. At the far end, a great pillar of ardra pierces the floor from below like a ragged spike, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they are all questions. At the base of the pillar stands Thaos, a look of concern on his face as he notes your approach. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all others spinning madly in your mind, but you don't dare ask it yet. You need some admission from him first, some hints of the veracity of your suspicion. I still don't even know what the fucking question is. I'm always at the end of the game.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here?
Your mind races, weighing different angles of approaches, your emotions are barely in check. Was Yovara telling the truth?
That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility that my people sacrificed everything to build.
What is this place?
We are in a sanctum holy to Utica. There are others like it in service to the other gods. I come here often to pray for her counsel, and in this space I may be assured that she hears me.
That machine behind you, what does it do?
It has many uses, but its purpose is to bring structure to the chaos that surrounds it.
All these statues, who are they of?
They are monuments to Utica's greatest servants among my people. I hope to join them myself one day, but my work is not yet complete.
Was the entire Inquisition based on a lie?
The Inquisition was based on the need to cut the flesh from a rotting wound.
You are shaken now, having lost all your patience for attack. No more evasions. You have to know everything you believed, everything you have done for the gods. Did you lie to me when you said the gods could be suffering, could end suffering? Thaos says nothing. Are there no gods? Thaos is
What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked? Something men can turn to in their darkest moments when their days seem only like bridges from one tragedy to the next. Our gods are all these things.
With Thaos, every word you find yourself losing control of a boiling cauldron of rage and doubt, and fear the hopelessness until you can take it no more. Are there no gods?
We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much these past few months. You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trials. The Inquisition is far from over, and I will have need of you. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the apostate. The Inquisition will not end until we have pronounced judgment on all of them.
His eyes linger on you, and there is no mistaking that the threat behind it, and your rage shrinks at the image of an iron wheel in your mind, monolithic and caked with the dried blood of thousands. You do not ask your question again. Come at me, Peach Boy, I don't care. I'll fucking slap you, silly.
How did you find it?
I didn't. It was Lady Webb.
Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason.
She loved you.
Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect.
Blind obedience is a lot to ask for of someone with a mind of their own.
What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. Is it loyalty that brings them here? Or is it, as my agents suggest, that they have no direction of their own? You worshipped Aethys, did you not?
Your spies are good. What gave me away? The cape?
Yet when your god needed you the most, you chose your country.
We were being invaded. Not by anyone who was acting like a god.
Then I should think your hometown gave you a hero's welcome when you returned.
They made cake. Hard to blame people for losing faith when it's the gods who are misbehaving.
The gods argue over how best to prevent Kith society from destroying itself. These disruptions would not be necessary were mortal instinct not so diseased. What of you, Orlan? My agents tell me you are far from home, both in distance and in years. Have your friends proven a worthy distraction from the pain of ostracism?
Ostracism? Is that the name for the groin rash your mother gave me? Don't fool yourself, old man. You know nothing about me.
Enlighten me, then. Is it Gallowayne you serve, or is it Weil?
I give both gods their due service, but I am servant to neither.
But such difficulty on the way. If you had only accepted that perhaps you were fit to serve neither god, just as you were unfit to serve your tribe, you might have saved yourself the trouble.
My tribe was unfit to serve me. And yes, I'm not fit to serve any god. I need only serve myself. Can you claim that, Thaos? Are you your own master, or are you just Woodica's wet nurse?
I serve all people, better than they will ever know. Better to live a competent servant than an incompetent master.
Kieran stares at Thaos with a baby snarl. Thaos watching calm.
You built a weapon that delivered exactly as promised.
I served my goddess as you did yours.
Yet the other builders were slain. 11 of a dozen. Why not you? Were you somehow different? Redeemable in your god's sight?
Whatever desire I had to be redeemed in her eyes was weakness, purged by the Watcher's sight.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted you dead as well? and your delusions of importance prevented you from seeing the obvious.
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more. But the spell's broke now, Thaos. The trial's over. I know friend from foe. And I've come here now to see a foe repaid.
You were able to destroy a god because another god wished it. Without her hand to guide you, you could not strike at a god any more than you could strike the sky. You are impotent, and not just from the pox. I understand your Duke's bells gave you a mission.
Their orders do not absolve me of my greater responsibility to the safety and well-being of the Republics.
You might want to skip over this one, Thaos. Don't want to pick a fight you can't win.
Yet you disobeyed. Something you already have a reputation for. They will know, of course. If it had been for a worthy cause, they might have forgiven you. But I don't see them pursuing animancy after seeing what it's done here. They trusted you, and you disappointed, as you always have. And you will again be disowned.
The parents scold, but the children are safe. Whether animancy research continues in the Republics or not, they will survive. For now, that's enough. In any case, I wouldn't be so smug about my fate, Thaos. I imagine Woodica responds to disappointment much more severely than even my dukes.
State your name and purpose, young acolyte.
My name belonged to the gods and my hand to their service. No more.
You serve none but yourself. Without contact with your order, you can have no higher purpose. Only the base concerns of the flesh. You have cast yourself from our ranks.
And I should have done it years before. I'd rather live in uncertainty than servitude.
And that uncertainty would lead you where it leads everyone. To doubt, to emptiness, to the many cruelties inspired by disbelief. You will have to forgive your Grandmaster for remaining skeptical of his initiate's choices. You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you fare better in your next lives.
He directs his gaze at you.
I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago.
What do you know of our business?
You think your abilities only flow in one direction. That isn't how it works, I'm afraid. Not for me. For all that you saw of my soul in the sanitarium, I saw as much of yours.
I live my life by the lies you told. You owe me the truth.
I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it.
Unite a generation, its place in the world.
The heart of this country has skipped a beat. Nothing more. I have done far worse. I plunged the peaceful kingdom of Thaos into civil war. I slew the monarch of Desantio, whose people never knew hardship under his rule, and replaced him with a cruel despot who brought them to ruin. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city in heaps that rose above their walls.
Nothing could justify these atrocities.
That's where you are mistaken. There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only in false gods. Thousands of them. Gods that told them to take slaves. Gods that told them to make war upon their neighbors and devour the slain. Gods that told them to burn their children alive and cover themselves in the ashes as a sign of their faith. But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our god's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark.
Teaching them there were no gods would have achieved the same
And
purpose.
replaced it with one far worse. Have you imagined this existence? the one the apostate would have created. We are not all so virtuous as she. Without our gods, the most wicked, the most tyrannical, they would take that power for themselves. But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness.
You underestimate
No
people.
endings to bring closure. Only a wheel, turning without mercy, grinding our spirits to dust.
You underestimate people.
For all my years, I have seen exactly what they are capable of. What the apostate asked was beyond any man. All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only way.
At least admit it to me that the gods are not true gods. I need to hear it from you.
You have not thought this through. There is no leaving this place for you. I allowed it once, but you have made it all too clear what a mistake my mercy was. With your soul and thousands of others, I will see this world purged of its suffering. Hear me, Woodica. Your servant calls for aid. Roak 10!
Run, motherfuckers, run! There we go. Loss. There. Attack. Attack. Cost. Attack. Cost. Attack. Just one. Ooh. Smack his ass, Balagino.
I have something here that works.
Just attack.
That looks like it hurt.
I'm ready.
That didn't work. Need to try something else. Beyond.
Failed.
Fuck you, beach boy. At your feet rests the body of Thaos Hollow, the dense wrinkles shaped by the silent shouldering of an eternal burden now smooth across his color-drained face. His soul remains still for the moment, defenseless in its energy expanded in defeat. It lies sprawled across the body like a death shroud.
That's the servant down, and the mistress still to go. A good start, worthy of being built upon.
I hope this is the end, but what's to stop him from being born again with the same ill intent? And before you suggest the option, no, I'm not eating his soul. I'll put almost anything in my mouth, but not that.
In his own way, Thaos must have truly believed he was caring for the people of Aora, protecting them from themselves. A shame his soul won't have a chance to reflect on his errors before it enters the wheel.
Some point, you have to look at the things your god is telling you to do, and ask yourself if it's worth it.
He spent his lives, more than any of us will ever know. For what? Binding the world to a lie. Could a man like that ever be redeemed?
Explore Thaos' soul. With a deep breath you plunge into Thaos' soul, and where the Buckenbury it had been a maze of narrow corridors and dead ends. Now as the expansive and borderless, its walls crumbles into heaps like the ruins of Inkwith. As you pass through them, you travel for what it seems like ages, rushing to no destination. A memory you glimpsed was before, at least you see it, no more than a pinprick of light at the end of the long tunnel, expanding slowly at first, then quickly as you near. You come out in the room you are standing in now, but it is new and pristine and filled with people, thousands of them, all turned towards the great Odra pillar and the machine that encases it. Thaos stands at the machine, and you are one with him now. You look out at the crowd, at faces of shriveled old men and shrewd-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands and watching you with somber acceptance. A woman with tears in her eyes gives you a small nod. You turn back toward the machine, your breath constricting beneath the weight of the unwanted knowledge, preparing yourself to set out alone on a journey without end. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it and place your hands upon a large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column and speak a single word. Chant rings creak to the life, building speed, setting arrays and carved draconic mouths aglow and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. The entire room shakes now with the force of the accelerating machine, all sound drained out by its deep, deafening thrum. Brilliant tendrils of light arced out from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulder to see them engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly like hot iron. One by one, the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen effigies where people once stood, many of them disintegrated into grey heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above the outer pillar, and a glow of a spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous, like some immense chrysalis suspended in slow rotation, as though it were being spun from the arc of light. When the last arc disappears, the spectral mass hangs a moment, no longer rotating so bright you must shield your eyes with an outstretched hand, and it seems to you as though it's looking at you. You bow your head in acknowledgement and look back up to see it melt into the pillars like warm candle wax. The pillar flares with a flash of light, bright as the sun itself, then fades to darkness. The machine slows down to an abrupt halt, and when the last echo of its grinding cogs has passed, the chamber is still, and you are here alone. From all sides, reality begins to bleed in through the memory, and you find yourself in your own skin once more, looking down on Thaos' lifeless body. You sense a listlessness to Thaos' soul, an overwhelming fatigue that it hinders its immediate escape and make it vulnerable to manipulate. You feel as though your victory has given you some kind of hold over it, and you are able to do with it as you please. Return it to the cycle. You will remember this, Thaos. Remember that no man can hide the truth forever, and you've done was done. What? And all you've done was done in futility. Your memory shall be your penance. Dear Solopod, I do not envy you, Thaos. I of all people realize this way memory can hold. It is time you were granted peace. banishes soul to praise Amen. Thaos ex Arcanon, there can be no forgiveness for your deeds, only injustice. You shall escape judgment no longer. As royal memory is contained within your memory makes a slave to your own past. Perhaps it can be undone, but it can be forgotten. I shall trouble neither of us any longer. It is all what you caused me great suffering, Thaos. You do not deserve to exist. I'm gonna banish his soul. Number 3. That's over. There can be no forgiveness for your deeds, only justice. You shall escape justice, judgment no longer.
To apply the teachings of Durance would more immediately satisfy the cravings in my bones. But this is the stronger lesson, for his soul is already marked by his own hand.
Perhaps this is the best place in the world for Thaos. Somewhere he can't cause further harm. Still, you eventually found the Ovara. What is a few thousand years to someone like him?
You got there, so still unsubdued, and your pronouncement seems to empower your spirit. Your will seems to you now a thick chain, and you wind around Thaos, constraining all movement, eliminating any possibility lost means of resistance. You call to mind the eternal prison, the vast empty cavern, and its cells of Ardra, vacated by souls that chose to betray themselves in order to escape the infinite abyss of hopeless and self-reflection. You choose a vacant pillar and pour your consciousness into it, creating a perfect, inescapable hollow with a space for one. And now you gather up Thaos' soul and bury it into the pillar like some bodiless jailer, conjuring by justice itself. You can feel its resistance now, the object terror radiating from it, but your bindings will not be broken. When at last it is sealed away, and you begin to recede back to your center. You could almost swear you hear a distant wordless cry of mercy. In the stillness that follows, a single word echoes through your mind, a word you spoke when you were one with Thaos in an ancient memory. You realize it is a word that activates the machine. Bye.
Hey there.
Where's my loot? I don't care if it's the end of the game, I want loot. Where is my loot? Oh shit, I wanted to save. As you approach the machine, the path underfoot suddenly changes to a cobbled road. If you hadn't experienced visions like this already in the tier of Evron, you'd be tempted to believe that the machine had sucked you into its deposited you in the middle of nowhere. The sun blazes overhead, and the rolling meadows of thick forest on either side of the road could be anywhere in the Dirwood. A short cackles turns your head. Standing next to you is a malnourished man clad in a threadbare loincloth and manacles. His entire body is striped with lash marks, and there are scarred pits where his nose and ears should be. He stinks of stale sweat and unwashed filth. You notice someone wandering down the road, but the figure's back is to you. The scarred slave has your attention for now.
You know something of quiet servitude, Watcher. Groveling and simpering before the gods whose aid you need, so that when they finally raise you to a place of power, you can seize what you desire. You have labored at the pleasure of others. That shriveled hag in Hadrit House, those preening soldiers with more taste for silk than steel, the wretched tribesmen playing out their fantasies of grandeur. And then you cowered and knelt before the gods themselves, begging one paltry favor and receiving riddles and visions in response. And now the gods give you orders and commands, even while you set out to fix what they cannot. Yet what have they offered you?
They offered us the means to stop Borica and Thaos. That's enough for me. I get the feeling this is his way of giving you new orders on behalf of his own master. Be careful, Carnaxus. 5 copper says he's about to sell you his own agenda. Only Wal knows that what that might be. If I were you, you, I tell the other gods of a dozen nubile lasses. If he can match that and haggle from there. Given the breadth of the iron manacle, it's amazing that he can raise his bone-thin arm, but he does, and he points to the person walking the other.
The exiled queen is not an ungrateful patron.
You get a better look at the lone figure and realizes that she's wearing robes tattered and singed but fine nonetheless. On her head is the silhouette of a broken crown. She continues walking, her pace slow but determined.
Finish the work Thaos began. Strengthen Woodica with these souls and allow her to become the most powerful of all the gods, with you as her favored.
Why would you thank me now? After I've defeated her most loyal and weak, Thaos proved his inadequacy when he failed to anticipate your plan exposed is worse than none at all. But you have proven resourceful equal to the schemes of gods. Woodica has a long memory, watcher for both friends and foes, and she keeps her oaths. What do you mean, favorite? The recipients of Woodica's blessing, she has always had a place for mortals, in particular merit. If you help her now, she will become the most powerful of all gods, and you will be the one who made her so. Think of a lifetime of reward you have reaped. The only reward I wish is to enjoy is the joy of pulling bloody shards of her broken crown from my staff when I have finished with her trial. So says your companion who's been abandoned by his own god. Do you really trust him to make alliances for you? Helping Woodica would mean that the secrets of the gods stay hidden. Safely hidden years from the violent overlords who would cease to fear the punishment in the next life from the heavy-handed masters who would answer to no one. The world needs some schemes, or are they souls of gift so pure that you would snap and tenuous threads that bind society? And Thaos makes a better overlord. The one is a god of slaves. What would he have left if the world were unchained from his mistress's lies? Skane takes a bundle at his feet and hefts a burden onto his back. I've explained the alternative. Watcher continue as a pawn of the gods or a partner of one. At the other end of the road, the figure stops. She turns her head just enough to look over her shoulder. Her face is mostly hidden, but one merciless eye peers at you from a cheek of rippled, scorched flesh. I won't help you.
You say that now, but when you're standing in front of the machine, considering the lifetimes and the powers that await you, we'll see what you do.
He continues down the road, and when the sun suddenly drops below the horizon, it plunges into momentary darkness. You come to your senses in front of the machine. All these evils we've seen going all the way back to the Saints' War, that was all Woodica. Imagine if she was stronger on top of that. Sick. Oh fuck, I need to speak to everyone.
Hey. Thaos. He had hold of your soul from a long time back, seems like. You get what you needed from him?
I got an answer to an old question.
Those can be hard to come by. But maybe that's best. Forces you to find your own footing. You'll be feeling better soon then. Good. That's real good. You got it figured out what you're going to do about all that? Got a lot of people out there thinking they've been abandoned by their gods. There's not much that'll put the fear in you more than that. You can take my word for it. If it was in my power, and I know it's not, but if it was, I'd find a way to give them the courage to face it. Not because they think there's some god looking out for them, but because they've just got it in them. And after what you've been through, though, I'm sure you got your own ideas. Better make it good.
I'm ready. So much for Thaos, then.
The membranes of Paladina's golden eyes sweep out and retract as she gazes into the great machine.
Now you have a chance to set things right. Back to the proper order of things. It will take the Deerwood generations to recover. But at least these souls will find their way back to the wheel, as it should be.
How may I help?
Astounding. I always knew the Leaden Key stood for something big, but I didn't quite realize what I'd gotten myself into. And now, you're in the middle of something even bigger. With a decision that will affect millions.
But even if you send the souls somewhere specific now, who knows what the next turn of the wheel will make of them? We can't really control what happens to them. Nor should we try. I had to see the monster Thaos had become to realize that. It's your decision, of course. And whatever you decide, I'm glad our paths crossed in Gilded Vale.
What? The end of the road greets us at last. You fared well, Watcher. Better than any Watcher has right to. Seems you were a field in need of a flame's cleansing. Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome. I had figured myself for the field all this time. But you were the field, and I the darkness. A lesson neither of Durance nor of Margarin. But with that trial's end, a new one begins. A god's trial. And I will stand in judgment without mercy.
Yeah? Victory looks good on you. There was a blur about your soul that lingers no more. Seems putting Thaos to rest has given you some measure of inner peace. Of course, now you need to decide what to do with these trapped souls.
But I speak out of turn. This is your decision, my Watcher friend. You should trust your own instincts. I am honored to have been part of your journey, regardless of what happens next.
Yeah?
With your companions bearing witness, you step up to the place where Thaos stood before you. These people long ago. The great machine lies in front of you, idle ready. You have seen the machine and others like it in operation. You understand how it works. It is a device of directing souls. As a watcher, it would be a simple matter to influence the direction, though as big as the machine is, it may be the last thing you ever do. Speak the command to activate the machine. There's a shrieking of stone crying against stone as old cogs loosen and begin to turn. You have only moments before the souls will be sent into the Ardra vein. This will be your only chance to at redirecting them. Return the souls to the body they were intended for. You close your eyes and expand your perception outward, taking in the immense totality of their tens of thousands of souls orbiting the chamber. Your grasp on the souls is tenuous. You find yourself fighting to keep them all within your influence, and you can feel them slipping away from you as the machine gains speed. A brief moment comes when it feels as though you hold all of them at once, and their force is so great it feels as though they will tear you apart. In that moment you dedicate your entire being to bending the orbit, channeling their flow in a new direction.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Thaos used to enter Sun in Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Thaos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Thaos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants, and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Magrin, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wide-One's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. Lord Radric's zeal had brought him back to life once, but it would not do so again. Radric's destruction at your hands spelled the end of his suffocating rule over Gilded Vale and the surrounding area. In his absence, the village prospered, becoming a popular destination for new settlers anxious to leave Defiance Bay after the riots. Without a nearby ruler, it also grew more wild, with many settlers moving on as soon as they'd arrived, turned off by lawlessness that was excessive even by Deerwooden standards. Nevertheless, despite the challenges of living there, Gilded Vale had survived, and would continue to survive for the foreseeable future. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in the unraveling of the conspiracy surrounding Wide-One's legacy, and were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. For the Knights, their resurgence marked a return to the tradition as well. Having seen firsthand the dangers presented by dabblers in animancy, the Order quickly abolished the practice internally, preferring the familiarity of their hammers and forges to the uncertainties of Essence and Adra. Their identity rediscovered, the Knights suppressed their political aspirations and began once again to train their recruits in the art of blacksmithing, recapturing the post-revolutionary ideals of Deerwood and regaining the respect of its citizens as a result. Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been disabled, it had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. The initiates slew a handful of the new settlers under cover of night, and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the district would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an Animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few Animancers survived the first day. Many Deerwoodens took the end of Wide-One's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of animancy, and that the purging of Animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving Animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The town of Deerford had seen the last of the cult of Scan. Dark rumors about the town's many curses quickly faded, and travelers soon returned. Abidon's renewal brought new vigor and purpose to a god long known for quiet, steady labor. Handicraft saw a revival in the Deerwood, and no smith wanted for an apprentice. Additionally, Abidon's restored interest in preservation led to redoubled efforts to survey Engwithan ruins. Animancers and craftsmen alike found much to study, but tensions with Air Glanfath rose. As for Stalwart, the Battle of Caron's Scar only strengthened their resolve to unlock the mysteries of Durgan steel and build new marvels with the White Forge. However, Stalwart's ambitions brought them into further conflict with the Raid Serens, as more and more impoverished communities gathered at the border and vowed to finish the work of the Iron Flail. It would be many generations before the region saw peace. The Flames That Whisper clan found a cautious peace with Stalwart, particularly once the villagers heard of the aid the ogres had offered against the eyeless. The clan moved back into the russet wood, and as Stalwart grew in prestige, the villagers formed a tighter alliance with their ogre neighbors. Within a generation, ogre traders visited Stalwart, and village hunters were welcome in the russet wood. Harmka's death had brought the Devil of Carrick little satisfaction. In time, her taste for vengeance soured. What replaced it was a hunger to feel something, anything, new. Summer had thinned the snowpack twice over when she felt the joint at her elbow first begin to stiffen. She turned her back on the hopes of animancy and civilization and walked east. She pushed through the mountains, past Raid Ceres, and into the broad plains of Ishamiddle. She had forgotten what it was like to simply journey, no goal or destination in mind. Though she felt nothing more than the steady thump of her feet on the road, the endless horizons and grassy meadows were new to her. She measured her time in the gradual rusting of her body and was satisfied. Her movements slowed, but so did the world around her. Waist-high grasses undulated and tacked in the wind, as gradual as the tides. Sparrows and blackjays made steady pilgrimages across the sky, each flap of their wings a solemn salute. She could hardly move when she found something she had never seen before, the ocean. With the last of her strength, she pulled herself beneath the water, content at last to feel the movement of currents and the constant caress of the waves. Free from the burden of her memory, Maneha soon left the gift-bearers and resumed adventuring. Now that she had a taste for the world, she wanted to experience it anew. Maneha rediscovered her zest for battle, extravagance, and romance. She kept her gaze on the horizon, looking from one journey to another more distant, from the lover in her arms to another more fervent. Hers was a life of excitement, violence, and passion. She moved too quickly for regret to catch up with her, and she hoped only that she might outpace it in the next life as well. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every thane and earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. The Audra dragon known as the Master Below, her soul now housed in the body of the huntress Fallen Roet, passed out of Deerwood in relative anonymity, her final destination unknown, even to herself. She was last seen in the port town of Rhodes End, boarding a ship, an Audra talisman glowing about her neck. Palagina had gone against the Duke's Bell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Deerwooden market. With the Deerwood's people still weakened by Weidman's legacy, the Valian republics easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Palagina was banished from the republics. She traveled north in the Eastern Reach, avoiding Valian ports and entering the ranks of the kind wayfarers. Despite her bravery and dedication to those in her care, her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider wherever she went. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Still most comfortable far from cities, he settled in Deerford, which, like many towns in the Deerwood, was beginning the slow process of rebuilding. Believing now that it was the obligation of Kith to be the leaders their gods had not, Adair was soon named mayor of the town, and under his guidance, Deerford soon began to prosper. He expelled the last of the Scanites from the area, and drew new settlers with the offer of land, a trick he had learned from someone he otherwise preferred to forget. With each passing day, Deerford would come to more closely resemble the Gilded Vale of Adair's childhood, the one worthy of its name. When the dust settled in sun and shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Thaos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grand Master had gone wrong, and what would be required to undo the harm Thaos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Thaos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With the Watcher's goals accomplished and his own vows fulfilled, Kanorua sailed back toward Rawatai, thinking on the lessons his travels had provided him. By the time he landed at Tekoa, he understood what his path must be.
I'm not gonna miss this guy.
Standing before the Lore College, Kanorua explained that the tablet he sought had been destroyed, and so a true interpretation of the Tonvi Oratoa could no longer exist. The people of Rawatai would have to create their own. He described the many strange things he had seen in his travels, and announced his intent to pursue the accumulation of knowledge abroad, seeking answers to new questions. True to his word, Kana soon set sail on yet another expedition, and in Tekoa, his passionate accounts inspired many to follow in his footsteps. With Thaos defeated and the souls released from Sun in Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. Pleasant and peaceful memories rose to fill the cracks in the grieving mother's mind. She returned to the birthing bell, unaware that the village nearby had become an empty desolation in her absence. Thus she began her tireless vigil atop the Adra, awaiting mothers and children who never came. Durrance used Magrin's strength only until Thaos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear as a reminder that he had been burned by his goddess, and not just by the flames of the Godhammer. Sagani experienced the 4 months of her journey back to Masuk in vivid colors. She strove to memorize every moment of her final trip through the Deerwood, Erglonfoth, the Valian Republics, and beyond, preparing to tell her village of what she had seen on her long journey. All of Masuk shared in her triumph, and she felt her pride and elation magnified by the joy of her village. Never again did she doubt the value of her sacrifices. After decades as a long hunter, Sagani finally became one of Masuk's most respected elders. She guided her community with wise counsel, and a generation after she finally passed, another huntress journeyed into the world to find her soul. For you, the death of Thaos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead, made no easier by your decision to bring an infant to Sun and Shadow.
And that is all she wrote, guys. Thank you very much for watching this, my very first playthrough, Pillars of Eternity. I appreciate it. It was a long and fun experience, and yes, there was some times where I wished it would end, but now let's go and start Pillars of Eternity 2. Thank you for watching, guys.